If you clicked on this video, my guess is that you're planning a trip to Spain, but you've heard stories, you may have seen things in the news that make you think, is Spain really safe? And if I'm going to Spain, how can I stay safe? Well, in this video, I'll give you my perspective on safety in Spain, and I'll give you some tips to stay safe and make sure that you have a pleasant time in Spain and you minimize the risk of something going wrong on your trip. Let's get right into it. If you're new here, I'm Jonny. I'm originally from the UK, but I've been living and working in Madrid for the past 4.5 years, almost 5 years now. On my channel, I talk a lot about the practical aspects of living abroad, a lot obviously about Spain with me living here. I also share insight when I travel to other countries, and I also talk investing and property and personal finance on this channel as well. So let's start with the question of, is Spain safe? Now, we'll look at the stats first and then I'll give you my opinion. So statistically speaking, looking at Numbeo and in general terms, the crime levels in Spain are relatively low, particularly when compared to other European countries. That said, there are areas of Spain that stand out as outliers, one of the most notable ones being Barcelona, that has a higher crime rate than the rest of the country, and in Numbeo's ranking of criminality index by city, ranks number 25 in Europe. Right behind it on the list as well, in 27th, is Bilbao. So these two cities have comparable crime rates to cities like Minsk, Milan, Turin, Rennes, and Dublin. That said as well, whilst the city might rank high on the criminality index, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a very dangerous place. It depends on the types of crimes that are going on there. You can check out crime statistics on Spain's Interior Ministry website, where they have a database of different types of crimes that have been committed. What you will notice though is that over the past couple of years, there have been more cases of crime than in prior years. So one could possibly draw the conclusion that Spain is becoming less safe as a result of that. So let me give you my perspective. I've generally felt safe in all the time that I've lived in Spain. In the 5 years I've been in Spain, nothing serious has ever happened to me in Madrid. I've been perfectly fine here, thankfully. I did spend 3 months in Barcelona in 2017, and in those 3 months I did get my phone stolen on the metro, which is really unfortunate. Despite that obviously being very upsetting and humiliating in the moment though, it was just that my phone got stolen. I wasn't physically attacked or anything like that, fortunately. So that's the silver lining in that. In Madrid as well though, I did witness one incident of pickpocketing, but fortunately the police were nearby and we were able to point them in the direction of where the pickpocketer was going. Not sure what happened next, but yeah, I did witness it once in Madrid. And obviously, like, me being a man, like, I don't really have an issue going out and walking at night. Compare that to my wife, on the other hand, who's much shorter than me and is a woman. She doesn't feel so safe going out at night the same way that I feel like I could walk around the streets at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Like, she feels much less comfortable doing that, and, you know, understandable. Broadly speaking though, I'd say that Spain is generally safe with the exception of a few hotspots, like certain areas of Barcelona, for example. Public transportation, certain city centers, etc. might be a bit less safe than other areas. But I'd say overall, whilst you can't ever fully rule out the possibility of something bad happen, and you know, I hope to God like nothing happens to you watching this video, I think that by taking sensible precautions, using your common sense, and just being careful, you can avoid a lot of potential situations that could potentially, you know, give you a negative perception of Spain and potentially ruin a trip here. So with that said, let me walk you through my top tips for staying safe in Spain and avoiding problems. So I'm going to start with lowering the risk of getting pickpocketed. Now, pickpockets in Spain are very crafty, especially in Barcelona. In the case where my phone was stolen, I was on the metro, it was like 3 a.m. I was stood next to the door and, you know, someone like pushed me on their way in, like halfway across the carriage actually. And, you know, kind of said sorry. And then they got off at the next stop, and then before I knew it, I realized my phone had gone. So clearly they used it as a distraction. Maybe they were simulating, you know, being drunk or disorderly or whatever, to catch me off guard, and they basically just put their hand in my pocket in that time and took my phone out. So when you're out in public, especially on public transport, or if you're in tourist hotspots, like, just protect your belongings as best you can. It can be as simple as, like, when you're on public transport, like, not sitting near the doors, like sitting somewhere away from the doors, because, you know, they might try and grab your bag and run off quickly. Might be just sitting with your hands over your pockets so that no one can reach in. Might be sitting with your bag in your lap, you know, covering your bag. Going to Barcelona, what is actually good is, my wife hates this bag, but it's actually really practical, is instead of having stuff in my pockets, like, I put them in here, have the bag, on like this, and then, I'm holding the bag like it's in front of me and I know exactly what's going on. And so things like that can really reduce the risk of you being pickpocketed. When you're on public transport, the bus, the metro, whatever, have a look at the people around you, like look and see if anyone is acting suspicious. Like if someone tries to sit down near you or next to you, like keep an eye on your stuff. If you're stood up and it's packed, like keep an eye on the people around you as well. And don't ever get comfortable. Like you might have gone a few days, few weeks, few months, however long you've been in Spain and nothing's happened, but never think that it couldn't happen. The moment when your guard is down is when pickpockets will strike. So never let your guard down and always stay alert. Now, those are tips that can prevent you from being pickpocketed or robbed. But wouldn't it be great if just by the way you looked or the vibe you give off, like a pickpocket or potential robber just thinks, I'm not going to bother this person. And so there's a few tips that work here. Try to assimilate to like how everyone else is dressed or how everyone else is around you. Like for example, if you're walking in the center of Barcelona with a rucksack, sandals and socks, or in Madrid and the same thing, is such a standout thing that you look like a tourist and you're like becoming an immediate target. That's not to say don't dress for the weather. Like people do dress for summer, obviously in cities like Barcelona and in Spain, but like look at how they dress. Like a guy, it might be a plain or fashion t-shirt and sport shorts or denim shorts or whatever, and then trainers. And in the winter months, people wear jeans, wear a coat, whatever, when it's a bit cooler. So pay attention to the season as well. Like even if you're not used to those kind of temperatures back home, if you're able to dress and assimilate like the locals, then already you're blending in a little bit better. Obviously that'll only go so far though. Obviously, look at myself, not a very common thing to see in Spain. So you do it as much as you can, but in some cases, obviously, there are genetic factors that limit how well you can do it. But if you do what you can often blend in well with the crowd. Also, if you're someone who likes to take photos and film like with a good quality camera or with your iPhone out all the time, then of course that's going to attract attention as well. That's not to say don't do it, but like especially when you do it, like just be aware of what's going on around you. And when you're not using the camera, when you're not using the phone, like try and keep it out of sight so that you don't draw attention to the fact that you're walking around with a very expensive camera or with a high quality phone. And that you might be a tourist, you might be someone visiting. Because again, these are giveaway signs that someone is not from Spain and that they're, doing tourism. The same goes with using your phone to navigate around. Like if you get lost and stuff, try and research the route you're going to take before you go out, because that way you don't have to get your phone out so many times to check where you're going. And you're not going to give off like the vibe that you're lost and you don't know where you are and where you're going. Like try and research and understand as best as you can before you go out, like where you need to be. Even like this might be a bit of a ridiculous suggestion, but like put some headphones in, put your phone in your pocket and have Google Maps like tell you where to go, like with the foot map. Anything to just not show off your phone or expensive like tech devices. A lot of people visiting as tourists as well, they might have a lot of stuff that they're bringing from home that they carry in their wallets, like maybe an ID card, a driver's license, maybe public transportation card from back home, maybe credit cards or store cards that you use back home as well. I bet you that like 90% of the stuff in your wallet, like you're not going to need it when you're visiting Spain or any foreign country for that matter. So with that said, take out the stuff that you don't need and just leave it at home, and take absolutely only the necessary stuff with you. Like take enough cash for that time out of the house. Like if you're going out for a few hours, you're going to get lunch or something, just take enough money for lunch. Maybe carry a card in case you see something you like as well. If you're scared to lose your ID, a notarized copy of your ID or passport or whatever document that you have to prove your identity is acceptable for proving that you are who you say you are, like a notarized copy. So that can give you some peace of mind when it comes to like losing your ID card or maybe a residence card in another country. Like if you lose a piece of paper that's a notarized document, like it's no big loss. Your main ID card is still intact. And this last tip is especially true like if you're going to the beach. Like I would even say if you can avoid taking your phone to the beach, like even if you like music, listening to music or whatever, try not to take your phone to the beach. Again, just take like the minimum necessary, like your towel, maybe some water, a bit of money for like if an emergency comes up, again like a copy of your ID. So because beaches are like, especially in Barcelona, they're hotspots for pickpockets. So again, by taking the minimum amount of stuff, like if something does happen, you don't lose your entire life or the entire contents of your wallet. You only lose what you had on you at the moment, which is not ideal, but it's better than losing everything, of course. Now, whilst if something were to happen, it's most likely to happen outside, that doesn't rule out the possibility that something could happen in your apartment, like your Airbnb or the hotel that you're staying in. So do be vigilant when you're in the hotel, when you're in the Airbnb as well. Don't open the door to anybody that you're not expecting. You know, someone might knock and say, oh, I'm the postman. Someone might knock and say, oh, I'm from the water, the electricity company. I'm here for maintenance, whatever. If you're not expecting them, if your landlord, if the hotel reception hasn't told you that this person is going to come and the time that they're going to come, then do not open the door to this person. You don't know who they are. You can't trust them. Do not let them in. By all means, if someone knocks or rings, don't open the door, ask who it is from within, and then feel free to ask the hotel or the landlord if you're expecting this person, because they might not be who they say they are. And another thing to be wary of as well, particularly if you're staying in like an apartment block, is sometimes potential thieves, they'll come and they'll leave like bits of plastic in the apartment doors, with the idea being that properties that have people living or staying within them, you know, the plastic will disappear. And that if the plastic stays, then they know that that apartment is vacant. If you see any of these, whether it's in your door or a different door in the apartment, call the police immediately and inform them that you've seen this and that you think that something might happen. And then the police will deal with it accordingly. Now let's talk about going out at night as well, which probably a lot of people will do given the schedule in Spain. You know, people eat dinner much later. The nightlife in a lot of Spanish cities is really great. So probably a lot of people will be out late and it will be nighttime when you're out and about. So if you're going out to a party or a bar or whatever, common sense, you know, don't leave your drinks unattended. Like, stay with your friends. Same as when you're out and about by day, but even more so at night is, again, plan your routes like public transportation, bus lines, etc. in advance and try and minimize how often you've got your phone out. It means you know where you're going, you don't look lost, you don't have your phone out, and you're focused on where it is you're going and what you're doing. So if you're taking public transport, the better you remember your journey, the less you have to worry about having your phone out and being a target at night as well. And depending on what time it is, what areas you're going through, where it is you're traveling to and from, don't be afraid to take a taxi or an Uber or like a Cabify at night if you don't feel safe walking around. Of course, it's more expensive than public transport, but generally speaking, you know, they are fairly affordable. And of course, if you're going in a group, then the cost can be split between multiple people, so it brings the overall cost down. And finally, common sense again, but if you do get into any trouble or face any emergencies, contact the police. I'm going to give you a heads up. If you are a victim of pickpocketing, then it is unlikely that the police will be able to do anything, because especially in places like Barcelona, like pickpocketing happens so frequently that there's just so many people coming in and it's impossible to stay on top of all of it. It's also difficult for the police to like go into an apartment block or wherever and locate like specific devices, even if, you know, they get a ping and they turn on somewhere. So that in itself should be extra incentive to take good care of your things and to try and deter pickpockets as much as you can. Nevertheless, you know, if you are a victim of pickpocketing, still go to the police and get a police report, because in many cases, like for filing insurance claims or whatever, and to, you know, flag the item as stolen, so that if it is, you know, sold on a secondhand website or something like that, then maybe there's a chance that the police can identify the item as stolen. Then it is worth filing a police report. So for emergencies, definitely just remember 112. However, if you're in a situation and you need a specific emergency service, then I'm going to give you a list of some specific numbers right now that you can call. So in Spain, you have different types of police as well. You have the national police, who have jurisdiction over all of the Spanish territory and deal with, you know, like pretty serious crimes essentially. And then you've got the local police, which are normally confined to certain municipalities, and they take care of, you know, more domestic or, you know, more localized, like lesser offenses basically. So the national police number is 091, and the local police number, or the Guardia Civil if you're in like an urban rural area, is 092. If you need the fire brigade, known as the bomberos in Spanish, you can call 080 or 085. And if you need an ambulance or a doctor, you can call 061 and you'll get medical attention. Finally as well, if you need the traffic police for whatever reason, the number is 011. There's also a very useful app that you can use as well. Now this is particularly if you want to report something that's going on. Based on your location, the type of crime, you can report them on the app discreetly, not anonymously. Unfortunately, Spain, it is not possible to report crimes anonymously, and you don't feel comfortable getting involved and you want to report it quietly and discreetly, then Alert Cops is a good way to do so. So guys, I hope you found those tips useful and helpful, and I hope they help you stay safe and avoid any trouble on your trip to Spain. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about safety in Spain, and let me know know if you've got any other tips that you practice to keep safe while you're here. By the way, if you're interested in learning more in Spain, you can check out these videos, such as a video where I talk about how to move to Spain. And if you're interested in learning about what's going on in Spain, different news stories, then you can check out these stories below. Then you can check out a recent story about a potential tax reform in Catalonia. So next time, I'll see you in the next one, and let's get this money.